Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at DisneyPlus.com, and I'm here with Rachel, who is one of the executive producers on Sneakerella, a Disney Plus original, which you'll find on the streaming service right now. So, hi Rachel. Could you give us a bit of an introduction to yourself, what you've worked on, and what you were responsible for in making with Sneakerella?
Sure. So I'm Rachel Watanabe-Batton. I'm one of the two executive producers on Sneakerella, along with Jane Starts, my dear friend. And I have been a producer for about 25 years, starting off in the studio system at Warner Brothers, worked for a director named Peter Weir as his assistant, who's a great director. And I did a lot of music videos for many years. So I'm definitely someone who likes both very popular culture and also very indie films. I work with a director named Julie Dash, who's been kind of an influence on many other filmmakers like Ava DuVernay and people like Beyonce. And I really just love Disney movies. And so, as growing up, I watched a ton of musicals. I grew up in New York City and went to High School of Music and Art the year that Fame came out. So all my friends were in the movie. And, I did a lot of filmmaking when I was in college and had my first movie out on WGBH about Irish immigrants marrying for a green card, and that was before I graduated college. And so I think my fascination has always been about telling stories where you think you know the story, but actually, kind of hiding in plain sight are all these other people. And I loved them and I wanted to tell their story. And similarly, I think with Sneakerella, it's like I live in New York. I know creative sneakerheads and they resonate with me because they're like my friends literally in the world. So that's a little bit about me.
That's cool. And with Sneakerella, what did you actually have to do with regards to being an executive producer on this film?
Well, really the EP in television is a creative person. And so fortunately, I didn't have to deal with any of the, logistics, so to speak. We had a great line producer for that, DJ Carson, but I really was involved with the casting, involved with all of the look of the production, things like, with the story, how to bring forward, possibly, for example, a scene with the mother and daughter, how to navigate that. And, my own background, I am African and Asian, Nigerian and Japanese American, and grew up in a very strong musical, Black, uh, working class family as well, some of my relatives. And so, I really could bring, quite frankly, a lot of the authenticity to it as, my co my other EP, Jane, and I are both from New York City. We have grown up, kind of knowing and living in a very diverse cultural world and making sure that resonated along with our director, Liz Allen. And so my specialty just in life and my kind of expertise are costumes because I actually had a fashion company at one point and sold to Barney's and Bendel's years ago. And also when you make music videos, a lot of it is about iconography. I do a lot of museum work as well. And so that was a big strong point, working with costumes and hair and makeup, and our brilliant production designer, Elisa Suave, as well. All of them are incredible. And just making sure that our director's vision is really being supported throughout. And I think we did a good job with that.
Yeah, it's a great movie as well, and also kind of the way it flipped it on its head. With obviously with sort of basically Cinderella being a boy, and then also like bringing up speed. It was kind of very modern. Was that kind of very much the way you wanted to go? Even though there was a couple of nice little nods and Easter eggs to the classic film there.
Yeah, I think, the story of Cinderella is something, as they always say, a tale as old as time and the others, but it's really about finding oneself, right? And so how to do a gender twist and also, in a very diverse, the most ethnically diverse place in the world, in Queens, in Astoria, and, really also make sure that, um, these stories and these kinds of dilemmas that we all have growing up, where how do we fit into our community? Are we valued? Those are things that are not exclusive to a young, you know, girl growing up. These are things that each of us has to navigate. And I think the power of changing it to be in Astoria with a black male, teen as the Cinderella character, Elle, and a sneakerhead just made everything so much more relevant, right? The sneaker culture of New York, which is one of the hippest around, and this is the dream. And how do you galvanize your community, to support you? And I think one of the main things is we have to actually tell people what we're interested in doing. And we all need, I love one of my favorite characters is Devin, Nakota, who plays Sammy. And she's like the best friend we all should have in life. We could all use I used to call her Samwise Gamgee in some ways, but really just those iconic characters, can be anywhere with any kinds of backgrounds for the people in the movie. And I thought it was important that we had the best friend is LGBTQ, right? And the stepfather is, not an evil stepfather. He's trying to make his way, but doesn't understand. And so I think there were a lot of these the nods were even modernized, right? What are these conversations in an era where women do have more opportunities than to just get married and find the prince, but that actually these moats, the divide represented in the East River, are still things that sometimes are physical barriers and sometimes they're in our head. And so I just love the movie because I think it's a gift to us young and old to reflect upon who we are and how we can support, those around us.
Like I said, and it was the stepbrothers that I absolutely hate. They were horrible. And they were like, oh, why are you doing that? And it was just like, it was kind of great, kind of seeing them getting their comeuppance and stuff. And it was, like you said, a modern version.
They're
But I want to,
deliciously evil, those
yeah,
stepbrothers.
they were like. It's like that really kind of got me into the film. But I wanted to say also, congratulations on picking up a number of Emmys in the children and family category. How did that feel, kind of picking up those Emmys for this film?
Well, it was amazing, actually. So rewarding to have that recognition for the film and for each of the department heads, really. And they worked so hard. All of us worked hard. We were away in Canada and filming a lot of this. And just a lot of the department heads were new, and particularly some of the ones that won, like our choreographers, Emilio Dosal and Ebony Williams, and, our composer, Elvin Ross, who won, as well as our editor, Ishai Seton. They were such amazing collaborators, excuse me. And it's rewarding to put together a really diverse uh, crew of department heads and have them be recognized for that. And, I also want to say that we wouldn't have been recognized for any of this if we didn't have such an amazing cast. And so, that was wonderful to be able to work with them and to see that people in our industry really love the movie and appreciate it. That means everything to us.
Yeah, I must say it was great, kind of going through and especially like for my looking through to see what picked it up from Disney Plus. So that was great. But you mentioned that you filmed it in Canada. So you filmed it in Toronto. How did you kind of make it feel like New York? Because obviously that's a massive part of what your company's all about.
Yeah, kind of amazing, right? Toronto was the safest place to shoot during the pandemic. And our production designer and our DP worked very, very hard to make sure with our VFX that our set extensions really worked. We spent a lot of time, after we completed principal photography, working on the post production for that. And, it was a lot of preparation going into it, making these set designs. Our director had a brilliant vision about how to do this. And, I think the other part of making that happen is, of course, the cast of characters, right? Because Astoria is such a diverse place. And, but luckily Toronto is as well, and we spent a lot of time crafting that. thinking about even the dancers, how do you create a subway? So a lot of those things were really done on sound stages. And, the train set was pretty incredible, having these cars and recreated by our production designer and our incredible art team. And then matching that with doing second unit in New York, and having those put in the VFX later. But it was, and then adding all the magic, of course, because that's part of any good Disney movie is really having that, those the natural kind of touches of magic, right? It's sort of thinking about the everyday magic that are in our lives.
It's always funny because it's, especially having visited both New York and Toronto, there's been a couple of times when you're watching a film and you're going, that's the skyline. You can see it. So it was definitely, it's like I didn't realize that it had been filmed in Toronto until I was looking into it. And yeah, it's like sometimes you can really, like, you can go, like the stories of them, like, putting rubbish on the floor to make it look like New York and stuff at Toronto, because it is generally very different. But yeah, I love both cities. But
and it was the middle of winter, by the way.
Yeah.
And we had to put flowers and everything. But Hamilton is the town we shot a lot of the exteriors in, and it's a brilliant city. They do a lot of work with
it's beautiful up there. So I'm going to ask, what was the biggest challenge working on Sneakerella?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge was, of course, dealing with a pandemic, right? And creating a film that is really about joy, right, and resilience in a time where there was a lot of chaos in the world. And so, there's always production challenges, right? The usual, like, is it freezing over? And you're trying to, do these exterior scenes with dancing. Those are normal production challenges. I think from my point of view, it was really, and that's part of the job as an executive producer, is making sure that, the spirits are lifted, right? Because we are creative people. A lot of us are empaths. We take in what's happening around us. And, the actors have to be on screen. But I mean, we were wearing shields and, using microphones and boxes. And yet it's a very intimate thing, talking to people about these emotions, losing your mother in the center of this all. And I think really was just navigating, how to keep up the good fight, and to know that in the end we were really giving a gift to the world making this movie.
And speaking of the world, I mean, this one got released out on Disney Plus globally. How did that kind of feel different? Did you know going into it that it was going to be Disney Plus, or was it going to be a Disney Channel film first?
We knew it would be Disney Plus, but you never know what's happening. That's above my pay grade with the, media outlets. But I think we all believed as producers and Liz, the director and writer, that we were making something that would resonate globally. And, Astoria is the most multicultural place in the world. And, as someone who is, my father lives in Nigeria, and I grew up here. I'm fourth generation on Asian American, but all of us are in this movie, and so I think in the world we live in, you just have to assume New York is, full of people from other nations. Of course, this is going to resonate.
Yeah, that's cool. And my final question to you is, what do your sneakers say about you?
That's sort of a funny question. By the way, I have several members of my family and friends that are sneaker designers, that I grew up with. So I've loved sneakers forever. I think I'd like my sneakers to say that I'm a little bit practical, but that I'm also very fashionable. I like a little personalization, little doodads. I have little gold buckles on my Converse that I wear. And, I think one of the things about sneakers and Sneakerella is, right, you can wear a ball gown and sneakers. Sneakers are meant to just give you a comfort and a way of expressing your own style, individuality, and be ready for anything, to be on the go. And so I think that's what mine say about me.
It was funny because I was just walking my dogs before and I was thinking, go through like questions and stuff, and I go, And if it's like, well, mine's just going to be like they're comfortable and like they're not fashionable. It's like they're just, I'm all about the comfort because it's like big, like, you know, foam pads in them to keep them nice and soft. I was like, yeah, that's so that was
Oh,
what I
I'm
was thinking.
definitely about the comfort too. Don't worry. But you
Well, I
can
just want to,
always add something fun, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Life is precious, and you know, we should just enjoy ourselves while we're here.
that's great. I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out to speak to me today. And obviously, you can watch Sneakerella right now on Disney Plus. And again, thank you so much for taking time out. Congratulations on those Emmy wins.
Thank you so much, Roger.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year,
And
and
to you.
thank you so much for supporting us.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.